So is that the Lib Dem? Because there's a campaign called Vote for Coate at the moment, which is about getting all of the parties and all of the candidates' opinions on that. So is your view and the Lib Dems to oppose?
Yes, quite so, because that is our green heritage, if nothing else. I mean, everybody knows Coate, and obviously the idea of actually having... Fair enough, we were the only party who opposed the building of the hospital on that site there years ago, and we proved correct. And the trouble was that politics is a messy business. The reason that hospital got built there was that the government at the time, which the Labour government, said, if you don't build it there, we ain't going to give you a hospital. Mm-hmm. You don't have much of an argument, do you, really? And that's what happened there. So there's pressure that can happen, and that happened there.
What can local people do in terms of the decision on Coate is now out to it's taken away from us now, in a sense? Is there anything people can do now to try and show the support, as you said, as you're against it, and you always have been, to try and influence that decision in any way?
Well, there is. I mean, there is the Save Coate group in action there, so they're still collecting petitions. I think, in truth, they actually got over 50,000 signatures. That's half the population, almost, 50,000 is 180,000 population. That's an amazing amount of people who feel this way. So I think if they keep pressure on councillors, because they ultimately will make the decision on which way we actually go. Obviously, then it can be taken out of our hands in the sense of actually the government will take over if we oppose, and there's a conflict there. So, but I think the pressure needs to be kept up. Yeah. So if people keep making the demands on their councillors, all the better. The thing is with councillors, councillors have a very short-term memory. So I think you have to keep reinforcing the pressure on them, otherwise they forget.
Hi, welcome back. We're talking to Stan Pajak. He's the leader of the Liberal Democrats group in the council. Stan, let's look back to what's happened over the last 2 years or so. And let's ask what your views are. Now, there has been so much going on about the Mechanics Institute. What's happened there? Why hasn't it worked properly?
The problem with the Mechanics Institute is ownership, in the ownership of a private individual, and then you have national heritage involved as well. So there's lots of people involved, but it's almost reached a crisis situation now. The council has spent out money to make it safe.
Is it £1.2 million?
Yes. I'm not sure it's as high as that, but the trouble is, how do they get that money back? Because it's going to be very difficult to do that. But I think it's almost reached a crisis situation. Either something happens, or you might as well demolish it, because at the moment it's like terminal decay. It's just getting worse and worse with no hope of progress.
So after spending, let's round it up to £1 million. After spending £1 million, we could actually, potentially, I'm not saying we're going to, potentially, knock it down.
Well, I mean, don't you think at the moment it's just a place of decay and danger in a sense? It really has to have a new lease of life if something's going to happen to it. And there's so many complications with this. I mean, one of the original ideas was to make it into a hotel, if you recall. That was one of the first talk actually about there, to convert it into a hotel, keep the front of it there. But that just hasn't happened in today's commercial situation. Will that ever happen? Is the possibility of the council taking over? No, we haven't got the funding to do that. There's no way we could do that. Return it to the community.
You're not far off.
Well, I know the amount of money you're spending on it. But it's just such a difficult situation there. And unless you get outside funding, which would mean, national through another way funding, what will happen to it?
It's a Grade 2 listed building, isn't it?
It is.
Can you knock it down?
Well, it's going to fall down at the present time, just the way it's going, because as I say, its lifespan now is getting less and less. And what's always hoped for, actually, that something would happen with it could actually be returned to the community. There was a mechanics group that still exists, actually trying to do things there, but it just hasn't happened. And this decline now has been ever since it was left empty, really. I mean, I can't remember any progress whatsoever, really. I mean, I can still remember when I was young actually going to performances there. When my dad played in the orchestra, all the way back to Salos days. We used to sit on the end of the old chairs with the cloth front and backs as chairs. Yeah, they used to be there in the hall. So the Mechanics Institute is always seen as a great thing of the past, but those days have moved on. So it's always been a difficulty, actually, what you do with it. Could you make a theatre there? No, probably long location. It was always been difficult.
OK, let's take the magic wand out of the old box here again. Let's say that the Liberal Democrats had been in charge of the Swindon Borough Council. What would you have done with it?
Well, we would have actually sought funding to keep the building and ideally make it with actually some use for the people of Swindon, because it is a great heritage building. I mean, you had the railway village on the cornerstone there, the rest of the heritage sites around all there. So it would have been great. Also Milton Road swimming baths, all part of a wonderful heritage centre. It never really took off to bring them all together, but you can look at it almost like Swindon's version of Bath. You've got Milton Road, you've got the In fact, you've got the old Mechanics Institute, the new outlet village as it is there. So it's a big heritage centre, but it has never been brought together. And if only that could have happened, that would have been our ideal. So that they'd all been partially used.
One of the criticisms I pick up about Swindon from a lot of other people is the fact that Swindon really doesn't grasp its heritage.
That's true. I mean, the thing that Swindon has got heritage, but also it's a fantastic location. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we've done so commercially well. I mean, it's such a good location from the trains, from the M4. I mean, Swindon's heritage has always been that. The canals were first, then the railways took over the canals, then the motorways, and we've always been part of that. So we've always had that commercial success. Unfortunately, it's never been matched by what we've done with the town centre. Look at the town centre, it's always been a messy town centre. It's not central, and we've got lots of great things there, but they're all spread over the place. We've never had a policy that brings them all together. And that's what we've always lacked. You know, our town centre is not an attraction in its own right, unlike many other places around it.
I was driving through Bath, I was driving through Bristol this week, and the impression came to me that if I were to be blindfolded, spun round 4 times, transported somewhere and dropped into the centre of Bristol, I would immediately know I was in Bristol. If I were to be dropped into the centre of Bath, I would immediately know I was in Bath. If I were to be dropped into the centre of Swindon, what is there to tell me it's Swindon?
Well, you'd go past a very stupid water feature, we'd wet your feet.
We're hot on this water feature now, Stan. We've covered this a lot.
But no, there is. I mean,
the dribbling fountain.
The dribbling fountain, yes. Swindon's town centre doesn't actually match what our aspirations. There's no two ways about it. And obviously, we are seeking funding for that. I mean, in truth, we are getting somewhere. I mean, like the in Regent Circus, the old college building, that will be removed, and hopefully they'll start working out this year for a cinema there. Plus Morrison's shopping complex there as well. So things are happening, but it's never been coordinated, and our town centre does lack a focus. I mean, the Brunel Centre, when it was first built, was quite a prestige site there, if you recall, the idea of the polycarbonate tinted roof and everything there. It was something, but now it's long past its actually interest date, and we need to do something there. But of course, it costs money, and Swindon's biggest problem has always been to catch the boat too late. You know, we had the developments all there, but we just missed it. You know.
So what's happened with Swindon's central regeneration team?
Well, it's Swindon Forward, and it's still there. It's still there, and obviously they've got the Mews development, and obviously we've also got the development happening around the Wellbridge. So it is happening, but it has never been the big thing that we wanted.
Who are Swindon Forward? Who make up the team?
Well, the council is leading it, and obviously then various other partners as well on it. So the idea is actually trying to get private enterprise as well as the borough council leading it. At one time we had the Swindon Company, that's dissolved now. So the council has a leading role in it, and it's trying to coordinate development. It was originally inspired by government funding. That's since disappeared now. So it's still there, and obviously their idea is to try and do something clever with the town centre. And of course,
how long have they been there, and what have they come up with?
Well, the development plans are all there. Is actually trying to make them happen is the difficulty, and that's the thing they're seeking out. I mean, will be moving forward. The idea of the old police station site there, that has plans there. It could be the new Carfax Street Centre will go there. There'll be a new car park built, plus some residential development there, which is unusual. And the theory being that will grow with outside businesses coming in. There'll be a green space made there. So it's potentially there, and there will be a start in these next 2 years. And in fact, what's going to happen in Swindon Town Centre will be a building site for the next 2 years. We've also got the Regent Circus development, we've got the development at Wellbridge, plus the new development of the oldie site there. So there's going to be a lot of building work in Swindon. So we're going to see a chaotic town centre for some time, I think.
Stan, we can take a short break here for one reason only. I noticed that your microphone is sagging slyly, and I'm going to adjust it.
That's not part of our cutbacks, is it?
That's part of our cutbacks.
A sagging microphone is a terrible thing.